What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor season 46, episode 9. We are in the home stretch of this season. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and I feel so weird saying that we're in the home stretch of the season because it feels like there's still like a lot left to resolve here. So I'm very curious how this season is going to play out because I feel like this episode definitely didn't play out the way I thought it was going to.
It is definitely the Hot Mess Express. We've got a handful of wackadoodles still left in the game. And we start off this episode with some aftermath of last week's episode. That was a big WTF moment at Tribal. Like, what is Q doing? Is he really trying to quit? Everyone coming back to camp was like, WTF, like we said, they're all confused and mad at Q. And Q says, yeah, LOL, I was trying to quit. It's like we said last week, he doesn't necessarily view it as a quit, but like we said, he thinks he's the martyr, he is falling on his own sword, and he's not really quitting, but he made a mistake, so he should be voted out for the mistake.
Yeah. I almost feel bad for Q, but only almost because I feel like this was a very predictable outcome of his actions. Like everyone else being mad at him, like kind of expected, especially because, like we talked about last week, this isn't the first time that he's tried to quit, so it's no longer like, haha, funny. So,
Exactly. Except now, low key, Q's target was so big basically that it's small now. People are saying, yeah, let's keep Q around. I'm not going to vote for him at the end of the game. He's really annoying. So maybe people similar to Venus might just be like, yeah, Q can't probably win the game. Let me bring him along. Although the difference between Q and Venus is Q is very, very unpredictable, whereas Venus at least has some more logic. So if you're bringing, someone who can't win to the end, you probably want to go with Venus over Q because Q might say or blow things up.
yeah, but I also feel like maybe if you're Tiff, you get kind of mad that Venus was trying to target you. I think whether or not you bring Venus really depends on whether or not Venus sees you as a threat because she's gonna just keep throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. So I do agree though. Q is definitely more like wild child, unpredictable, but I also feel like he has less of a chance of getting people on his side than Venus does. Because Venus is more rational, I feel like she can explain more like, oh, this is why it would be good for you if we sent this person home. So she might not be able to win, but she might be able to get you out.
Loki, though, I do agree. Venus does get her way, even like with the soda vote, not necessarily originating from her plan, but she too had a similar idea of, hey, I want soda out. Maybe she didn't convince those people to vote with her because they already had that idea or plan separately, but she gets the people that write her name down out of the game. Like we saw this episode too, she had a confessional like, Hunter, you wrote my name down. I'm going to be so excited when I write your name down and you go home. Hunter goes home this episode. So it's like, even though people don't necessarily respect her, her plans sort of do align with a lot of other people that she probably thinks that she is getting her way. And if people do respect her at the end of the game and she can articulate that, then maybe she could get votes at the end.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with Venus is I think at the end, a lot of it depends on how self aware she is and how much she's going to take credit for things that isn't hers to take credit for. Because I feel like her trying to take credit for things when other people were like, dude, you did not convince me at all, would actually tank her winner potential rather than raising it. So it all depends on how aware she is. And like from some of the stuff that's been going on, like especially on social media, Venus has been tweeting a lot. It seems like maybe she's not aware of the fact that she is not as in control as she perceives herself to be.
Definitely. Like, you can spin it if people respect you. If people don't respect you and you try to say that these moves are solely your moves, they're going to be a little bit pissed off, like we saw Tevin and Liz being pissed off last week. I think it is interesting with the Q quitting stuff that it seems like Jeff really, really likes Q. Like Jeff in interviews last week and this week were saying basically, oh, Q's quit isn't really a quit, it's new strategy for the game, which I'm like, huh, that's interesting because usually with quits or people trying to get themselves eliminated at tribal council, he says, I need to be harder on these people. Like, oh, Survivor's very hard. You never know what's going to happen. So mental health comes first. But I don't know. Seems like Jeff really likes Q. So I'm like, huh, does Q win? And that's why Jeff really likes Q.
Yeah, I don't know, because there are definitely people who I feel like quit for more legitimate reasons than Q is trying to quit. Like the season where B quit because of her knee and like wanting not to mess up the rest of her life by potentially injuring her knee. And I feel like Jeff is very hard on quitters, so it's weird to me that he's like, oh, it's okay if you try to quit as long as you don't actually go through with it. Like, if Q had gotten voted out last tribal, would that have counted as a quit in Jeff's mind? Because people who ask to get voted out, I feel like he views as quits. And so it's all very messy. It's all very murky. I feel like one of the reasons why Jeff might like Q, though, is because he's a really good character, but he isn't playing a character. Like, I think some of the characters in the new era, people feel like they're playing a character rather than they are a character, and that's not Q. Q is just like this. So
Yeah, like it would be strategy if in a confessional this episode Q says like, "Yeah, I was trying to get all the votes on me, so Hunter or Tiffany would play the idol for me and then we would like idol someone else out." Like that would count as pretending to quit for strategy, but when the person that pretends to quit or wants to quit and wants to get voted out says, "Yeah, I was trying to quit." I don't really think that can count as strategy unless you had some foresight, like playing the idol or trying to get votes for some other advantage rather than just quitting to quit.
mm-hmm.
But we also see this episode, Tiffany and Q are fighting. Tiffany is very mad throughout the episode. Same with Kenzie. I think it's warranted on their ends. And basically, the Yanu 3 is broken up.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I feel like we all knew this was coming, but I would have liked to see them go a little bit deeper, mostly because I think it's really funny when there's one member of an alliance who's absolutely off the rails and the other members of the alliance like just have to corral them. Like that's really funny to me. But I think it is probably better for both Kenzie and Tiff's game not to have to deal with Q and his like flip-floppiness, but also it would have been fun to see it.
It would be such big brain chess, 3D chess, if the Yanu 3 were fake fighting and they actually knew about Q's plan and now they're fake fighting with Q, but they're actually secretly still a threesome working together to try to get like the targets off of their back so people aren't like, oh, let's break up the Yanu 3. They're very close because they have all of this fake fighting going on. That would be like very big brother strategy. Doesn't seem to be the case here. Seems that they actually do not like each other anymore and don't want to work with each other anymore. So I just think it'd be interesting if it were a fake fighting.
Yeah, that would have been great 3D chess, but don't think that's it.
Nah, they don't want to work with Q at all. So we also see Liz is upset that her Tevin move is overshadowed by Q trying to quit the game, which I thought was so funny given the fact that we haven't really seen much of Liz like we've talked about until the soda vote, and then she's mad that like Tevin and Venus are taking credit for the soda vote, that she wants Tevin voted out because Tevin got too much credit. And now she's mad that Q is overshadowing her move. But high key, it's probably a good thing that Q is overshadowing her here because, like we've seen, oh, you make a big move, you're top on the totem pole to get eliminated because you're a threat, because you just made a move. It's probably better that people don't remember that this was her move.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting though, because we see in the preview for next episode that Liz is kind of losing her shit. So I'm interested to see like what the evolution of Liz's game is here. Another like Liz factoid that was repeated multiple times throughout this episode was that she hadn't eaten for the last 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure how much of that I believe. Like, I feel like I could see Liz like secretly like hoarding food and eating food when no one else is around, and just like playing up this whole "woe is me, I haven't eaten" thing. Because it feels like after 72 hours, you would not be as like alert and capable as she is. So
Maybe. I also feel like she's very allergic to all those things that she probably can't eat a lot. Like, she can't even eat the coconut, I thought.
yes, but also we only have her saying that she is very allergic to everything, and then also allergies are on a spectrum, and I don't know, it just seems kind of bizarre to me that like she can't eat anything for a whole 72 hours, like anything.
They don't got any rice.
I don't know.
So Liz wants to vote Q out now. It's very funny because Q will target people for being good at hide and seek or like saying something wrong to him. Big mistake. Liz is basically don't take her credit. That's the big mistake for her. And then she'll start targeting you because you took her credit. It is very interesting this season because it's like, okay, everyone's playing to win, everyone has their own agenda. Everyone wants the thing to be their own plan. Like we saw last week, Q didn't really want to go with the other plans because those plans weren't his. They didn't come from his brain. Maria, this week we also see, doesn't want to go with Kenzie's plan to vote Tiffany, even though she wanted to vote Tiffany out because it's Kenzie's plan and not her plan. So I thought that was very interesting.
I thought it was interesting too. I guess it all comes down to like resume building. We hear people directly drop the words resume building this episode, and like Ben was saying something about how like Q quitting didn't count for his resume. So it seems like they're all very aware of their resumes and like wanting to be sure that they have everything like spick and span for when they get to final tribal.
Guess we got a lot of people that have probably good resumes in real life.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to the immunity challenge. It is 3 teams of 3 being created. The 3 teams are Kenzie, Tiffany, and Ben, Hunter, Maria, and Charlie. And then the leftover group is Q, Liz, and Venus. Q wants to vote Hunter out here. And Q is basically lobbying to Maria and Charlie, like, y'all, you should throw the immunity challenge so we can vote Hunter out. And I was like, huh, but isn't Hunter in the 6? So the 6 is dead now because Hunter didn't throw out anyone's name in the 6, and Q wants to target Hunter.
The 6 has been dead. So really, what I'm hearing is that this was Q's move because Q got out the person that he wanted out. So
And Q was
I'm
the
just
first
saying,
one to say it that we saw this episode, right?
Q's the mastermind.
I think it's funny though, like everyone in the 6 is getting voted out. I sort of want to see someone in the 6 get voted out next week.
Yeah, that would be fun.
But Q wants Maria and Charlie to throw the team challenge so Hunter doesn't win. Like, technically, it's not a bad idea because you can see that Hunter is fairly decent, pretty good at these challenges. But Charlie and Maria are like, I don't really, not a fan of throwing challenges. Me, I would agree. Like, why would you throw it purposefully? Similar to Maria and Charlie, I would be like, nah, I would want to try to win. If we lose based off of our own merits, that's fine. And we get out in like the first round or the second round of the challenge. Or you make it to the third round, like we saw, and you can try to beat Hunter fair and square. I like that aspect, like thought process, better than like, oh, let me just throw the challenge like round 1 or round 2 so that we don't even get a chance at 3. Like, might as well try for it. And then if you still lose, that's fine.
Yeah. Again, I feel like every time people talk about throwing a challenge in Survivor, it doesn't turn out well for the people who intentionally threw it. So I think good on Charlie for not throwing the challenge because now he gets an individual immunity win too. And I feel like that's something that is on his resume. I feel like we're going to be like talking about resumes so much going into the next couple of episodes because people are going to be so serious about making big moves. It's going to be The word resume isn't going to sound like a word anymore.
Exactly. So it's a three-part challenge. After each part, a team gets eliminated. Then the final three are competing against each other in the third part. I thought it was sort of weird that Jeff calls out Q's team as the loser team at the start. Like, oh, Q's team is obviously losing. When I looked at the three teams, I'm like, I didn't really think of it like that. I'm like, okay, Liz and Venus are like smaller women, but I'm like, I didn't think they're the loser team. Like, the 3 teams are pretty matched.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people were saying that Jeff is trying to be too much of his own character in Survivor, and I feel like that is kind of coming up this episode where he also like had his whole bit where he was like, "I brought a cushion and popcorn." And I'm like, Jeff, I'm not here to watch you. I'm here to watch the contestants. So I feel like him interjecting like his own commentary, I was just like, I don't care what you have to say about this, Jeff. Also, like I wasn't thinking too far ahead about who was going to like win the immunity challenge or not, just because I feel like once an episode has started, I don't think about the future implications of it until the episode has ended. I'm not like halfway through the episode being like, oh, this, and this are going to happen. I'm just like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. Maybe that's just me being brain dead, though.
I agree, though. I watched the first time of the episode for funsies, not really, like, too much strategy thought behind it, and then after you marinated it, and then the second time watching, then you're like, "Ah, where could things have gone differently for people? This was a good move, this was a bad move."
Mm-hmm.
But Hunter's team wins first in the first part of the challenge. Q's team gets second in the first part. Then Hunter's team wins the second challenge. I was a little bit worried for this second part because Maria couldn't do like the pole thing earlier we saw, but Maria could get the ball onto the ring, so all good here.
Yeah, I feel like I was also a little worried at that same part, but I don't know. It was just I understood why they won. Let's go.
Yeah, and then we get to the endurance cross challenge as the third challenge. Charlie ends up winning it over Hunter. And I thought this was interesting. Charlie, we've seen good at endurance challenges. Him and Hunter went head to head last week. It's him and Hunter here this week. Sort of different this week. It's not like they're the final two because of the eliminating part of the challenge, but like Charlie wins over Hunter. That might put a target on his back, technically. People might see that Charlie's pretty good at endurance challenges. Um, and I could see it. Charlie is a runner, running long distances. I can see him being good at these kinds of challenges moving forward.
Yeah, long distance running is probably better for endurance than whatever the heck Hunter was on. So I feel like generally the muscular guys don't do as well at endurance challenges.
And for Charlie, too, voting out Hunter could be enticing because with Hunter gone, Charlie could have a better chance of winning more challenges.
He could, but Charlie could also become the primary physical threat, maybe? I guess Q is still there, so. But if people aren't going to vote out Q for any reason, then maybe Charlie's next in line is physical threat. But I also feel like Charlie is not who you think of when you think of physical threat, so he might be fine regardless.
I would agree with that. I'm like, you look at Charlie, I feel like you have more of that like nerd stereotype given law student, Harvard undergrad, whether he shared the real undergrad and all of that or not. Because I feel like runners, they're just very lean, even if they are very, very physically fit. They're not like bodybuilders or weightlifters that are like super jacked and super buff. But I could see if Charlie keeps on winning challenges, then people might be like, okay, he's got the brain and the brawn. He's smart based off of strategy and his schooling. And he's really good at challenges and could be good at puzzles and stuff like that. So it could be a little bit dangerous considering, I don't know, the rest of the cast, I feel like they might not be up to his level in terms of like challenge and intelligence after Hunter's gone.
Yeah, I feel like Charlie could be like an under the radar threat. I would be curious to see like next episode when people are regrouping, like what happens.
Yeah, because even though he's, like, got the baby face little brother energy, people might be like, "Yo, he's actually quite dangerous."
Mm-hmm.
So, we get back to camp. Kenzie, very funny, she says, "So, does anyone want to volunteer to go home tonight?" And then everyone chuckles awkwardly.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been a funny joke if Q had been the one to make it. I feel like, but no, I felt awkward listening to it.
Then we see Q telling Kenzie about the six, the plus one alliance, and Kenzie's not buying it. Kenzie and Tiffany talk, and they basically lay down what Q is trying to do. Like, yeah, Q is trying to pit us against each other. Like, Tiffany, you didn't tell me about this alliance. But then Kenzie's like, yeah, Q, you also didn't tell me about this alliance. So, really, what he's saying doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, yeah, it didn't make much sense. I thought it was funny that Kenzie and Tiff were kind of like, I wouldn't say blowing up their chance to ever work with Q again because I feel like they already weren't interested in it, but like them laying it out like this, I feel like makes it so Q is probably like, oh, they're like really mad at me.
Yeah, I think it's interesting this episode we see like I could see Kenzie, Maria, Charlie, and Ben as a new four-person alliance. Like we saw Ken and Benzie Ken Kenzie and Ben bond over Ben's panic attack at the nighttime. We know Charlie and Maria have their secret alliance, and then we also know Ben and Charlie are close. So I could see them as a foursome coming together, especially after this episode too. We see Kenzie say we should vote out Tiffany. I think this would be an interesting foursome to look out for.
I think it's also going to be an interesting foursome. I think also, like, I'm really curious about Maria because she's now the person left that's gotten like the least amount of confessionals and screen time, but she's also a lot of people's winner picks, I feel like. So I'm curious to see if this foursome is going to like mean things for Maria or no.
It is interesting because there was a secret scene where Maria is like going in on Ben, saying that Ben has the idol. Why didn't you play the idol for Tim? All of that. So in this foursome, even though Charlie and Maria are close, I could see, since we haven't really seen too much of Maria's other connections, like Maria might be the least connected one out of this foursome, like the Kenzie Ben being close, Charlie Ben being close. Is Maria and Charlie's relationship enough for her? Because we haven't really seen Maria's connection with anyone else, really.
Yeah, I mean, we see her trying to connect with Q in the preview for next episode, but that doesn't mean much. So, yeah, this foursome is going to be interesting.
So, Tiffany, this episode played it very, very well compared to Hunter and the Idol. Like, Tiffany saying, "Oh, I'm for sure playing the Idol tonight." She basically made everyone change their plans because they're like, "Oh crap, Tiffany plays the Idol. We need to change our plan. We can't vote for her, or maybe we split votes on her so she flushes the Idol anyway." But she can't be the main number of votes because then someone else is getting idled out. Nobody wants to get idled out. And maybe compared to Hunter, that Tiffany did it earlier in the afternoon compared to for Hunter, it seems like it was very close to tribal council that he didn't really get enough time for people to change their plans after that information was disclosed. But it is interesting. Like Tiffany, you just got to say, yeah, I'm playing the idol.
Yeah, it's also interesting though because like Hunter still had his idol. Like even if threatening to play your idol doesn't get people to change the votes, like you can still play your idol. Like if you have even like a fraction of a doubt, like just play the idol. You can find it again. Or if you're Hunter, you can win immunity again. Like it's just I feel like Hunter only went home because he played this poorly and not because Tiffany played it well. I think Tiff playing it well is part of it, but Hunter also played poorly.
I agree. Tiffany did play it well by being strong in saying I'm playing the idol, but also bluffing, or also realizing, hey, the tides have changed and no one's voting for me anymore. I don't need to waste my idol tonight. She does say if Hunter played it, that she would play it. We don't necessarily know if that's true after going to tribal council, but like it's better safe than sorry. You might as well look like a fool and play it incorrectly than go home with an idol. It is scary though when an idol is played that it's going to go back and be hidden probably, and someone else might find it. Like you want to know that it's in your pocket compared to someone else. But I also feel like Hunter sort of like it's weird the way that he goes up to Q, Liz, and Venus trying to make the plan Ben compared to, hey, I'm playing my idol tonight. Tell me who to vote for, and going along with their plan rather than like you can't force these people to suddenly work with you. You should go along with their plan. Their plan was Q, and Hunter was trying to save Q, didn't want to vote Q technically. But I feel like if it's you or an ally, it's got to be the Sandra method. It's got to be anyone but me. You got to vote Q. Hunter does vote Q at the end of the day, but like you can't be pushing Ben's name here. I think you just got to go with the majority.
Yeah, just agree and go for it. Just because I still don't really see what benefit keeping Q would bring Hunter, because if Q goes home, Hunter still has an idol, Hunter is still a challenge beast, Hunter can still make new relationships. Like, Q is not the best ally to have in your corner. So,
Wackadoodle in your corner. So we go to tribal council. Jeff does his shenanigans and he's got popcorn at tribal. He does share the popcorn, which is very nice, but it was a very small bowl.
yeah. I also was looking at like the amount of popcorn each person was taking, trying to figure out like who was being the greediest. And it looks like Venus had the biggest handful of popcorn, but also I feel like they didn't show a lot of people's handfuls of popcorn, but Venus, they like paused while she was like eating some. And then I was kind of like, does Liz get the rest of the bowl? Like, are they going to let Liz have as much as she wants because she's the one who can't eat anything else? Like, what's the strategy here? I need to know more information.
Popcorn Gate. I truly believe, I think we've talked about this on other podcasts. They need to bring back those challenges where you're like rating the other teammates of like, oh, who's the most annoying? And then you have to vote of what you think the tribe's consensus is. That would make people pissed off. And in a cast like this where people don't really like each other, it would be so funny. Or it's like, okay, the winner of the reward challenge, since like, okay, whatever, 9 people left, you've got 9 food options, and the winner gets to say who gets what food option, and then you're basically rating your cast members again. We need to bring back these challenges that cause problems within the camp because it's good TV.
I feel like the challenges where you get to like rate people and then you have to guess what everyone said, they should be able to sit out of that one for popcorn. But you can only have like 1 or 2 people sit out and they get to watch the challenge while eating popcorn. But they can't get immunity.
Yeah, and then could still get voted for as most annoying.
Yes, they can.
So Tiffany and Q, they fight at tribal council, truthful fighting like we said, but it would be 3D chess if they were fake fighting at tribal council too.
Should have done it.
I know. Got to bring in that big brother strategy. Ben is also sort of sassy at tribal council. Q says, I didn't talk to anyone all morning when people said that he brought up Hunter's name. And then Ben says, yeah, it was nice.
I didn't even hear that. Wow. And I
It
watched
was
this
like
episode
captioned.
twice.
Yeah. Yeah, so we get some sassy Ben here. We also see Hunter being a little bit paranoid. He is asking everyone who they're voting for. I thought everyone that didn't vote with him and they voted for him had very good poker faces here. Like they were like, yeah, we're voting Q. We're voting Q, lying straight to his face. So good on everyone who is lying to him.
Yes, I love that for them. Stone cold.
Exactly. And I think I don't know. It's like Hunter has talked about on social media, like his thoughts. He thought he had 3 votes going in, and so it's going to be like a split vote. but then he switched his vote to Q because like the tides were changing. But I feel like in this kind of tribal council where it's a little bit hectic and you're a little bit nervous, he's asking everyone about the plan. Maybe you just play the idol to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, I feel like so many people who end up not playing their idols and going home are like, I had a vibe and I should have listened to the vibe. I feel like Hunter is probably the next on this list of like, he knew there was a very strong possibility he was going home, but he didn't listen to his gut.
It's always hindsight is 2020. You realize that gut feeling, what it meant after you're already voted out of the game, which is unfortunate, but maybe it's
Mm,
useful for a second time out there.
maybe if he gets a second time.
So it's a 4-4-1 tie vote the first time. The 4 votes for Q are Hunter, Liz, Kenzie, and Venus. The 4 votes for Hunter are Ben, Charlie, Maria, and Tiffany. Q is voting for Ben here, so Q ends up going with Hunter's plan here. And then the revote is all of the votes are on Hunter, but Liz's 1 vote is for Q.
Yeah, I feel like must feel bad because if Hunter, I guess I was going to say, if Hunter hadn't convinced Q to vote for Ben, maybe he wouldn't have gone home. But then I realized Q wasn't going to vote for Q, so it probably didn't matter much.
Yeah, or it's like their plan if Hunter stayed voting Ben and had Liz voting Ben, then I guess technically still it's 4 votes for Hunter, like 4 it'd be like something's a little bit fishy here, a little bit tricky. But I feel like on the revote, everyone is smart. Hunter's up for elimination. No idol was played. Hunter versus Q. Everyone's switching their votes, but Liz makes sense. Might as well take him out. He's up for elimination.
Yeah, and I feel like this is also going to cause minimal. I was going to say minimal disturbances, but I feel like Q is definitely not going to take very kindly to someone voting him out when he didn't ask to be voted out.
It's funny, like the entire jury is OG Nami and they came in with the most numbers and then it's like everyone in the 6 is getting voted out. It will be interesting next week because we did see this week people didn't necessarily believe that Hunter had an idol and they thought he was lying about the idol. So it'll be interesting to see next week. Do people still go searching for an idol potentially because he was threatening the idol, or even is there going to be a new idol hidden? It'll be interesting to see.
I hope there's a new idol hidden. I want some more drama. I want someone else like revealing that someone has an idol. I always complain when there's too many idols that aren't being played, but also I like it when people find idols and then can't keep their mouths shut.
It's the public idol, just like the broccoli and the butterflies, a public idol.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, let us know in the comments down below what you thought of this episode. Do you think that Hunter should have played the idol? Was he good with not playing the idol and being a big baller, trying to keep the idol for another day? Or should he have just played it? Do you think that, I don't know, what else? Q
Do you think
should have
Q's gonna have a
volunteered?
public freakout?
Yeah, let us know in the comments down below. We are excited to talk about Survivor next week. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will